There are places in this world where time does not behave like we expect. Places where past and present overlap, like two breaths taken too close together. Places that do not haunt, but remember. This house was one of them. It looks ordinary at first glance: pale, cracked plaster, an old balcony, windows that never quite shut properly. People pass by daily without noticing it. Children use its shadow to hide from the summer sun. Couples stop under it to share an umbrella. Taxi drivers swear at its narrow street. Yet no one thinks to look inside. If they did, they might feel it. The faint, electric tension of something unsaid, pressing gently against the walls. A house cannot speak. But this one has tried, quietly, for more than a century. It was built in 1899. Not as a mansion or a landmark. Just a sturdy home for a small, hopeful family whose name has long been forgotten. They wanted sunlit rooms, a view of the city roofs, and a place where their children could grow without fear. They did not know that the walls they raised would one day hold the fragments of 4 other lives, lives that would never intersect except through echoes. The city changed around it like a restless animal, shedding names, flags, and governments. But the house stood still. Observing. Memorizing. And from the beginning, it had a flaw. A single attic window whose wooden frame was not installed correctly. The builders argued about it, patched it, wedged it, hammered it, but still it never fully closed. A mistake. A bother. A cold draft every winter. But sometimes mistakes become doorways. The first family arrived a decade later. They were wealthy enough to afford thick carpets, a piano, and the delicate luxury of keeping the curtains drawn even during the day. The neighbors whispered that they were hiding something. And perhaps they were. Because in the father's study was a small, locked brass box. He carried it with unusual tenderness, moving it from place to place as if he could not find a corner safe enough. The mother avoided the attic entirely, and when the house creaked at night she pressed a hand to her heart, convinced someone had entered uninvited. Still, there was warmth then. Laughter. Dinner plates clinking. Music drifting from the piano. The house absorbed it all, its first taste of human joy. Then revolution came. Not in an instant, but like a slow tightening of the throat. People disappeared. Posters multiplied. Windows were boarded. The father stopped playing piano. The mother stopped humming. One night, hurried voices filled the house, packing, crying, rushing. The family fled at dawn. The house never knew why the father, in his haste, dropped a folded photograph that slid between attic floorboards. A woman stood in the picture, looking past the camera, her expression neither smiling nor sad, something in between, as if she knew she would soon be forgotten. That photograph became the house's first secret. Years passed, and then war swept into the city. The second family didn't choose the house, they were placed there, assigned like temporary luggage. This family brought no piano. No carpets. Only fear. The mother stitched coats near the drafty attic window, always with her back to it as if someone might appear behind her. She whispered to her children to stay quiet, stay low, stay small. The house tried to comfort them in its own way, softening echoes, holding warmth, muffling sounds of distant explosions. It did not always succeed. One night the mother pressed her palm to the attic wall, right over where the forgotten photograph lay hidden. She didn't know why she did this, just that she felt something there, like the quiet heartbeat of someone who lived long ago. When peace returned, they left silently, taking every belonging except a small wooden toy soldier. Perhaps the child forgot it. Perhaps he left it on purpose. In time, the house decided it didn't matter, because the toy soldier became a sentinel, guarding the staircase long after the family was gone. Then came the third family, glowing with youth and optimism in the bright, modern 1960s. They painted over the scars of war, brought in record players, danced barefoot in the kitchen. Their voices were loud, confident, hopeful. And yet the attic window unsettled the husband. The draft felt colder than it should. The shadows longer. The silence heavier. One afternoon he found the old photograph wedged between the boards. And when he looked at it, something inside him shifted. He didn't recognize the woman, yet he felt he should. As if she had stood in this very attic only moments before he arrived. Afraid that the past might stain their happiness, he hid the photo inside the wall, thinking it was the safest, deepest place. He was wrong. That wall was becoming the heart of the house. And the house was keeping everything. The fourth family arrived during the final, turbulent years before the world changed again. They brought appliances, arguments, and exhaustion. The father often stood under the attic window late at night, staring through the glass as if expecting someone to appear on the street below. One stormy evening he tore at the window frame, trying to repair it. A loose board fell away, exposing scraps of paper, notes from the 1960s husband, doodles from the wartime children, a thread from the first family's carpet, the photograph's corner, yellowed and brittle. For a long moment, the father simply stared at the pieces, as if sensing their combined weight. Then he stuffed them back, whispering, "Not now. Not yet." He didn't know who he was speaking to. But the house did. And then decades passed. Seasons blurred. Shadows stretched. Paint peeled. Tenants came and went, but none stayed long enough to leave a mark. Until today. A new owner entered, someone who liked old things, who wasn't afraid of creaks, who believed houses had character even when others believed they had problems. While renovating the attic, he discovered a hollow space in the wall. Inside it lay an envelope sealed with brittle wax. On the back were 4 names, names of people who lived here across different eras, none of whom knew each other, none of whom had reason to collaborate. He opened it. Inside was a letter. Written, in 4 different handwritings. And somehow, impossibly, addressed to him. This was only the beginning. The letter felt alive. Not metaphorically, no. It felt warm, as if touched recently, though it had been sealed for decades. The new owner hesitated, sensing instinctively that once he read this, something in his understanding of the world would crack, not in a frightening way, but in a way that reveals a truth one cannot later forget. He unfolded it. The first handwriting belonged to the man from the elegant pre-war family. Flourished strokes, careful curves. He wrote of the brass box. Inside it was a confession he feared to share. He had loved someone forbidden. Someone society would punish him for. The box contained their letters, proof of a life he wasn't allowed to live openly. He feared future generations would erase not only the relationship, but the person themselves. If someone finds this, he wrote, remember us as 2 human beings who hoped the world would someday be gentler. The new owner exhaled slowly. The house seemed to breathe with him. The second handwriting trembled. Likely the wartime mother. She wrote that she sat by the attic window every night because it made her feel watched, not by enemies, but by something protective. She never knew whose photograph had fallen behind the boards, but she sensed a presence, a warmth, a quiet companionship. She admitted she left the toy soldier on purpose, hoping it would guard whichever family came next. The house held us, she wrote. Please let it hold our memory too. Then came the third handwriting, energetic loops, youthful confidence softened by guilt. The man from the 1960s. He confessed that he had hidden the photograph not to bury the past, but because he felt it, calling to him. He dreamed of the woman in the photo. Not romantically, but as if she were trying to deliver a message he couldn't quite hear. I think the house wants its stories remembered, he wrote. Not solved. Not explained. Just remembered. Next was the fourth handwriting, angry, heavy strokes, the father from the turbulent 80s. He wrote, "There is something in these walls. Not a ghost. Not a curse. Something human. Something unfinished. Every person here leaves something undone. Maybe that's how the house grows. Layer by layer, story by story." He admitted he had almost thrown the scraps away out of frustration. "But something stopped me," he continued. "Something that felt like a hand on my shoulder, telling me, not now. Not yet." Then the new owner froze. A fifth paragraph appeared. In his own handwriting. But he had never touched this letter. Not once. The words said, "I don't know why I'm writing this. Or how. But if you are reading this after me, then the house has chosen you. These stories are not about tragedy. They are about connection. The invisible threads binding strangers across time." His heart pounded. He felt small, yet impossibly significant. Then came a sixth paragraph, in handwriting he didn't recognize. Smooth. Delicate. Precise. It said only, "Now the house remembers you too." A chill swept the room, not cold, but sharp, like stepping into a memory that wasn't yours. The new owner looked around. The attic felt different. Not haunted, alive. He reached into the hollow again, pulling out everything: the toy soldier, the photograph, scraps of notes, bits of fabric, a rusted button, a torn train ticket, a child's drawing, a piano key worn smooth by decades. It was an archive. A museum of small truths. A century of unfinished sentences. He realized then that each family had unintentionally contributed to this collection. Each believed their gesture meaningless, yet altogether, these items formed a story the house had been trying to tell. A story of people who never met, yet shared the same fears, hopes, desires. A story of time folding in on itself. A story of memory finding a voice. He placed everything gently back into the wall, but not before adding something of his own, his grandmother's silver thimble. Something precious, something personal, something that carried its own quiet history. He sealed the cavity and whispered, "I remember you. All of you." The house creaked softly. Not in protest. In gratitude. And for the first time in a century, the attic window closed completely. Not with a draft. Not with a groan. But with a peaceful, final click. As if a chapter had been completed. And yet, in the silence that followed, the new owner felt something unmistakable. The house had more stories. And it wasn't finished speaking. Not yet.